but Reinhardt is the fellow who deflected that puck. I would think it should not have been called offside. However,
it was.
It was.
Freddie Barrett playing it back behind the net. Houston is there for Calgary. Dropping it back on the point now for Marsh. Marsh's shot. That was deflected wide by Bobby Smith. Now Smith comes up with the puck for Tom McCarthy. Kept in, though, by Houston of Calgary. Stopped behind the net by Malash. Barrett knocking it away from Popinski. Off now for Cicerelli. Stopped by LaValle. And Greg Smith goes back behind the goal. Is bouncing there at the side. And Greg Smith decides to hold on. And wisely so, as the faceoff will go to the left of Gilly. With 13:28 remaining in period number 2. The Stars won, the Flames won. Look at Ken Houston.
Had a battle with hepatitis earlier on in the year. Missed half of the season just about with the problem that he had. During the course of the season, he played in 42 games. He picked up 15 goals and 15 assists, 30 points, but had 93 pennants. That's good. Minutes and penalties. Calgary's playing the same style of game they played here the last game up in Calgary. They're not letting up at all. They're continuing to use the body to get men in front of that net and just cause some confusion.
Hislop centered it out in front. Kristoff knocked it out of there. Now Palmer gets it out to center where it's broken up by Phil Russell. Russell for the Calgary Flames. Clearing it into the Minnesota zone. Brad Maxwell goes back for the North Stars. Up on the left side for Palmer. Palmer was stopped there by Nilsson. Now Palmer getting it ahead for Broughton. Broughton for Kristoff. Back for Palmer. Across the line. Stopped by Radicalio. Bill Russell carries to center for the Flames. Clears it into the North Star end. Willie Plett knocks it back behind the goal. Brad Maxwell to the corner. Now off for Palmer. Stopped by Plett. Off for Hislop. Watched by Brad Maxwell. Hislop turning. Kent Nilsson picks up the puck. He's hit by Broughton. Broughton skating along the boards. Ahead for Kristoff. And Kristoff pushes it down to the Calgary zone. Radicalio going back after it. And icing will be the call against the North Stars. 12:33 remaining in the second period. Tonight's broadcast comes your way from the Met.
You could buy all these copiers and still not get everything that's in the small new Savin 840. That's why you'll find it in blue chip companies and chocolate chip companies. The Savin 840 goes into insurance agencies and secret agencies. Only the Savin 840 gives you fiber optics, a microprocessor, fast burst copy time, and more in one copier. The new Savin 840. The
CDP says go for the cup, North Stars.
Well, it's 1-1 here in Bloomington. We've got 12:33 remaining in the second period. In this second period so far, Calgary has controlled the majority of the play. It's been mostly in the Minnesota end. They seem to be controlling the puck. North Stars getting the puck and just shooting it down the ice. They're not really taking advantage of having control of it. They're just giving the puck away more so than they should be in a game that's such a key game as this one.
Kurt Giles controls off the faceoff. Tried to get it past Marsh. Marsh went high in the air like a basketball player and deflected the puck in among the crowd. So we got, 12:27 to go second period, 1-1. Let's see, what's the shot clock? 15 for Minnesota, 13 for Calgary. What's that, the panic button?
That's the button.
Oh, the goal button.
Goal. The officials, by the way, the minor officials, the goal judges and so on are out of Chicago. And the backup official here tonight is Brian Lewis. Just in case one of the on-ice officials gets injured.
Giles off for Payne. Payne ahead now for Al McAdam. That failed to click. McAdam goes in after it, working against Marsh. Popinski losing it to Payne. Payne getting it back for Giles. Giles takes the shot, and Reagan made the save. With McAdam trying to deflect it out in front. Now Brad Marsh back behind the Calgary goal. Past Holt down into the North Star end. Giles going back to play it for Minnesota. Going behind Malash. As we pass the 8-minute mark here of the second period, Stars 1, Flames 1. Bobby Smith at center ice. Working against Randy Holt, goes around Holt, dumps it into the corner, and back to play it Bob Murdoch. Murdoch clearing it along the boards. Off now for Plett. Plett dumping it out on the left wing for Holt, watched by Barrett. Barrett knocks him off the puck, and then Ken-Eric Anderson knocks the puck back in the Calgary zone. Kevin Maxwell centering this line, featuring Jack Carlson and Ken-Eric Anderson. Carlson with a hard hit on Marsh. Marsh still having some problems with Carlson as Carlson rides him out, and that brings the fans here at the Met out of their seats, and they're giving Jack a big ovation as Carlson and Holder in there, and the face-off will come to the left of the Calgary goal. Tonight's broadcast coming your way from the Met.
Lou and I have approached for a long time, and we have the aches and pains to prove it.
But now we're just two good old boys talking about TCF's new service, pass card checking.
It offers checking, which Lou likes, and earns interest, which I like.
Get them both with a TCF Pass Card checking account.
Are those all you teeth, Lou?
Yeah, Lars, how about yours?
No, I fell off the bench in 74 against the Lions, lost these two. Then I played against the Packers in 75, and that one went. No, wait a minute. I got a Super Bowl thriller.
Kevin Maxwell back behind the goal, centering pass, gloved by Riggin. Riggin holding on, and the faceoff will come again in the Calgary zone. Shot clock now 16-13 in favor of the Stars. On the scoreboard, we're tied 1-1.
Well, Jack Carlson threw a couple of good checks out there, and that seemed to instill a little bit more life into the North Star personnel, and the fans now, they're screaming as well. They're trying to get behind their team, trying to give them some support while they're on the ice out there. And Minnesota responded by a couple of good opportunities. It almost resulted in goals.
Carlson with a check that time on Russell. McMillan hit by Greg Smith. Puck still in the Calgary zone. Ken-Eric Anderson going in. It's tied up. And the face-off will come to the right of Riggin. 10:58 remaining. So we passed the 9-minute mark here of the second period, tied 1-1.
You know, that game in Calgary was a physical game. We thought we'd see more of Jack Carlson, but he sat on the bench for most of the game. But Glenn has used him a little bit more in this hockey game here back in Minnesota, and they're responding right now by using him. The players are responding by getting a little more action in the Calgary end.
Reinhart dropping it off now for Houston. Houston through the legs of McMillan. Down into the North Star end goes Greg Smith. Smith heading it up now for Kevin Maxwell. Maxwell with a neat move at center ice, going across the Calgary line. Maxwell still with it. He's knocked down by Reinhart. Reinhart's going to get a penalty. And tonight's broadcast comes your way from the Met.
You know something? At TCF, I can earn right up there with the big investors for just $100. And you can too. How? Watch. 12% guarantee for 2.5 years. That's 1/4% more than commercial banks pay. And the effective annual yield, 12.935%. High rate plus insured safety at Twin City Federal, where you earn the highest savings rates in town.
Well, Paul Reinhart picks up a penalty for Calgary at 9:28 on the hooking call against Kevin Maxwell. And just after that, as we broke away, Kevin Maxwell skated towards Riggin, and they were exchanging a few unpleasantries as well as shaking their sticks at each other. We'll pick up here, right here. There's the call for hooking right there. And Reinhart, as you see right there, sitting all by himself in that little penalty box on the far side.
Bobby Smith centering Al McAdam and Steve Payne. Craig Hartsburg and Brad Maxwell will man the points. Bill Clement, Brad Marsh, Bill Russell out there for Calgary.
That thing between Riggin and Kevin Maxwell started even before the game in tonight's warm-up when they had a confrontation. All the players were milling around. There were no punches thrown, but I'm sure that's just a continuation of the thing that started in the pregame warm-up.
Back to get it now goes Maxwell for Minnesota. 1:50 remaining in the penalty time to Reinhart. Maxey coming out with the pass on the left wing to Steve Payne. Payne carrying to center ice, dumps it in the Calgary zone. McAdam is first to the puck in the corner, working against Marsh. Dropping it off now for Bobby Smith. Stars setting up offensively. Bobby Smith out in front, hit traffic with the shot. I think he hit Clement's skate. Now McAdam goes after the puck. McAdam getting it off for Bobby Smith. Smith for the North Stars, playing it back, picked off by Hislop. Hartsburg tried to keep it in, but failed to do so, and play is whistled down offside. 1:24 remaining in the penalty time to Reinhart. We've gone inside the 10-minute mark, down to 9:56 to go here, second period.
We look at the official there, Kevin Collins. Those fellows do about 100 to 105 or 10 games a year during playoffs and during the regular season and also during exhibition games. The referees, on the other hand, will probably do it somewhere around 95 games if they go right to the finals.
Dumped deep into the Calgary zone, sent along the boards by Marsh. Hartsburg keeps it in, hit the skates of Bobby Smith. Payne over there battling Russell. Smith comes in to lend a hand. Clement comes up with the puck for Calgary and gets it ahead too far for Hislop. Back to play at Maxwell for Minnesota. 1:05 left in the extra man. Bobby Smith takes the pass from McAdam. Moves down the right side, watched by Hislop. Smith still with the puck for Minnesota, back for Brad Maxwell. Maxwell the shot, oh! That deflected and hit something.
It looked like he hit the pipe after it deflected.
Hartsburg keeping it in for Minnesota. Off for Maxwell. 45 seconds left in the extra man. Maxwell to Payne. is tipped wide. McAdam battling for it. Now Payne going to the boards along with Marsh. Big hit by Painter. Hartsburg keeps it in. Russell goes to the corner now for Calgary. Tries to flip it out, and it goes in the crowd. 9:04 to go, second period. 32 seconds left in the penalty time to Reinhardt, and it's Stars 1, Flames 1.
North Stars doing a good job of controlling the puck in the Calgary end on this power play. We saw once Bobby Smith got the puck in the corner, we've got both McAdam and Payne going for that area around the net. You can see right there, you can see McAdam and also Payne in that deep slot area. And Painter deflecting that puck, and it just caromed off to the right of goaltender Pat Riggin.
Broughton, along with Cicerelli and Christoph. Christoph plays it to an open point, and Giles got to go out to center ice and pick it up. Now the loose puck is played by Marsh deep into the Minnesota end. There's 22 seconds left in the penalty time to Reinhardt, as Gordy Roberts will lead out the charge. Here's Dino. Dino getting it across for Christoph. Christoph and Broughton going across the line. Christoph's pass off by Marsh, played off the boards, back to the North Star zone. Just 9 seconds now remaining in the penalty time.
Christoph had the right idea. Cicerelli was breaking in on the far side. He had eluded his winger, and he was breaking in there, but the defenseman was just able to get a piece of that puck.
There's a shot. That was deflected wide. Christoph plays the rebound back for Roberts. A shot. Riggin makes the save. Dino scores! On the rebound as the Flames got back to full strength. Dino Cicerelli scoring at 11:36. The Stars lead 2-1.
Well, Dino Cicerelli scoring his 11th goal of the playoff series. And we'll pick it up here once again. There's a shot coming from Roberts at the point. And the deflection, the first shot and then the second. And Dino puts it away, giving the North Stars a 2-1 lead. The penalty had already expired to Calgary. It was not a power play goal. Another angle here to pick it up. See, Broughton deflects it here right towards the net. And Riggin makes a save, but Cicerelli is able to get in front of Radicalio and put it in behind Riggin to give them a 2-1 lead. Look at the dinosaurs here. Looks like Disneyland.
Now they're going wild at the Met. Cicerelli has finally scored against Pat Riggin.
Yes, he sure has. Maybe that'll give him a little bit more life to score some more now.
Foul off for Greg Smith, picked up by Maxwell. Maxwell ahead for Jack Carlson across the line. That was broken up, sent back out to center ice again, and we'll get a face-off. 8:13 to play, second period. 2-1 in favor of the Stars. Cicerelli from Broughton, I'm assuming, and I'm trying to think of who the other one will be.
I think it'll be Roberts, yeah. That was Broughton's 6 assists in the playoffs. A couple of rookies, Roberts and Christoph, they're giving it to. I would have to question that. We'll wait and see, but we'll go along with them for now. But Christoph then, Stevie picks up his 6 assist in the playoff this year.
Kevin Maxwell for the North Stars. Back into the Calgary zone it goes. Stopped by Riggin. Radicalio. Bumped there by Carlson. Puck picked up by Murdoch. Murdoch shooting it on the right side for Houston. Houston dumps it to the North Star end. Stopped by Malash. Back behind the goal. Leaves it there for Greg Smith. Smith up for Jack Carlson on the left wing. Bothered by Murdoch. Carlson muscles it out to center. Picked up by Kevin Maxwell. Maxwell against Radicalio. Maxwell stopped by Radicalio. Radicalio knocking it ahead now for Kent Nilsson. Stolen by Maxwell. Off for McCarthy. That's broken up by Nilsson. Nilsson goes to the corner for the Flames. Off for Pekka Radicalio. He goes back behind the goal. Watched by Dino Cicerelli out in front. Ahead now for Nilsson. Nilsson circling in his own end. Back for Radicalio. Radicalio plays it to an open wing. Houston comes back to play it for the Flames. McCarthy drilled over there. Puck picked up by Cicerelli back across the Calgary line. And then Radicalio heads it out for Kevin LaValle, who slams it in and look out in the crowd. 7 minutes, 9 seconds to go here. Second period, 2-1 North Stars. Tonight's broadcast comes your way from the Met.
I don't think so, no. Hey, Norm, when it comes to switching to natural light, add me to the roster.
Tony Jurgensen, good to see you. Did you switch for the all-natural ingredients?
No, I switched for the taste. Natural light tastes better to me.
You old quarter horse, you lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, look at me. If I'd have been in this shape 5 years ago, I might have even run with the ball.
The moves he could have made.
Yeah, like the old quarterback sneeze.
Yeah. Hey.
Natural light. Taste is why you'll switch.
Well, we've had an intense game here at the Met here tonight. The North Stars lead by a score of 2-1. We've got 7:09 remaining in the second period, and we've had some action at both ends of the rink. And believe me, the emotions are still very, very high between these two teams. Calgary facing elimination if they lose here tonight. The North Stars do not want to go back to Calgary. They want to start the next series against the New York Islanders in the finals of the Stanley Cup Championship.
Hislop to Poplinski. He chopped it wide, and Bobby Smith picks up the puck. We passed the 13-minute mark of the second period. Stars lead 2-1. Dino Cicerelli ahead for McCarthy. That was broken up by Reinhardt. Back to center. Hartsburg now controls for Minnesota. Watched by Plett. Getting it off for Maxwell, who takes a hard hit from Hislop. Here come the Stars, breaking across. Cicerelli. His pass from McCarthy was tipped as Plett goes after it. Plett takes a hit from Hartsburg, who knocks him down. Now here comes Reinhardt. Reinhardt and Popinski. Pass was broken up by Maxwell. Hislop off for Willie Plett. Plett's offside. 6:27 remaining here in period number 2. It is 2-1 in favor of the Stars. Don't forget Twins baseball action upcoming Wednesday night from the Met Stadium. Twins against the Boston Red Sox. The first of 4 that we'll do from the Met this year.
Tickets are hard to come by in this city right now. North Stars have never been in the finals of the Stanley Cup. They've been in the semifinals. This is their 4th year, but they've never advanced any farther. Wow, that shot was deflected and just went wide.
Radicalio, you can see going back there for the Calgary Flames, gets an assist from Reagan. Puck is steered along the boards off the stick of Lever, and covering up Radicalio, heading it out to center for Schwienar. Schwienar going across the North Star line, taken away by Gordy Roberts, kept in by Radicalio, deflected wide by Lever, tied up by Giles out in front. Calgary still keeping the puck in the Minnesota zone. Into the corner now goes Gordy Roberts. Roberts for the North Stars, ahead for Broughton, off for Kristoff. Here comes Kristoff. He was dumped. Crowd roars. McMillan now playing it off 2-on-1. Lever cutting in with Schwienar. Broken up beautifully by Giles. Now McMillan back in the play. McMillan off for Lever. Lever backhands it. That was knocked down at the sides by Giles. Gloved by Malash. Malash holds on. And the faceoff will come in the North Star end. 5:37 remaining second period. 2-1 Stars. And that's Guy Schwienar.
The Bobby Smith line is coming out right now for Minnesota, and of course we'll see the Poplinski line coming out for Calgary as well. They have instituted number 14, Kent Nilsson, on that left wing position in place of Randy Holt. Holt was out there as a tough guy, but now they've got Nilsson out there who's got a little bit more hockey ability.
Shot clock 22:14 for the Stars off the faceoff. Murdoch keeping it in. Murdoch had it tipped though by McAdam, and it comes to center. Russell off for Nilsson, back for Russell again. Tim Young will be Tom's guest during the upcoming second intermission. Got to get Timmy back in the lineup as Russell goes down the right side for the Flames, centers it out in front, no one home. And up with it now, Al McAdam. McAdam, Kristoff, and Bobby Smith. The pass goes to Smith. Smith skating free down the side, takes a blast, and it goes wide. Freddie Barrett keeps it in. Steady Freddie's shot deflects, goes to Smith back behind the goal. Bobby Smith tried to center it to Payne. That was tipped, and it comes all the way back to the North Star line. We've played 15 minutes now of the second period. It is 2-1 North Stars. Greg Smith. Down the right side for Ken-Eric Anderson. Kenta back for Greg Smith. Smith a shot. That goes over the top of the net. Popinski back behind the goal. Lost it to Bobby Smith. Off now for Ken-Eric Anderson. Back for Brad Maxwell. Maxwell a shot. That deflects. Big save by Reagan. Anderson was tied up by Radicalio, so there was no rebound available to the North Stars. This is Nilsson skating to center for the Flames, going across the North Star line. Back for Houston. Houston had it taken away by Maxwell. 3-on-2 for the Stars. Maxwell, Bobby Smith, and Jack Carlson. Off for Carlson. Back for Bobby Smith. Smith was tied up from behind by Houston, who came back. And the Flames steer it out to center ice, where it's picked up by Nilsson with 4:15 remaining here in period number 2. Maxwell getting it off now for Hartsburg. Back for Brad Maxwell. Watched by Bill Clement. And Carlson couldn't handle the pass on the left wing, and it goes among the Calgary bench. So the face-off will go back in the Minnesota zone with 4:04 left to play here. Part of the 15,784 fans on hand tonight at the Met Center. You can be among them next year. $50 deposit will hold your season tickets. You'll get them at a discount, and you'll have all the fun of coming to the games live here at the Met. And the number to call, 853-9340. 853-9340.
A good hockey game so far. I tell you, we've had lots of chances, or a few chances by each team here, and yet the goaltending has been superb. The North Stars seem to have come to life here a little bit in the second half of this second period. The first half of this period seemed to be controlled a little bit more by the Flames. But now the North Stars have come back, and it all started when Jack Carlson went out there, threw a couple of good checks against Brad Marsh, and that seemed to get the North Stars going a little bit more.
Face-off is to Gillies' right. Off the draw, the Stars get it out as Kristoff poked it out to center. We've now reached the 16-minute mark of the second period, 2-1 for the green and gold. Now the red and gold, the Calgary Flames. LaValle clearing it off the stick of Gould, deep into the North Star end. Back to get it goes Kurt Giles. Now Giles, he is battling over there with Clement, and from the side, plays it out to center ice. Kristoff off for Neil Broughton. Broughton, Kristoff, and Palmer across the line. Broughton a shot. Reagan makes the save. Giles keeping it in for Minnesota. Into the corner, Radicalio. Broughton goes, plays it back behind the net for Kristoff. Off for Palmer. Palmer now for the North Stars, goes down in the corner. Tried to play it back for Gordy Roberts. Clement breaks that up and steers it to center. Neil Broughton for the North Stars, back for Roberts. Off now for Kurt Giles. Giles to center, and into the Calgary zone it goes.
See what Minnesota's doing right now is they're controlling the puck. Before they weren't. They were just firing the puck away. Now they're controlling it, and they're taking the edge away from the Flames a little bit.
See Smith, Payne, and McAdam now out there for the North Stars. Clement has got McAdam tied up. McAdam, centering pass, broken up by Bobby Gould. Gould backhands to center, stopped by Freddie Barrett. We've now played 17 minutes here of the second period. Stars lead them 2-1. That's offside. 2:50 remaining second period. Matt Reagan got to be getting a little tired there in the nets for Calgary. He's had some emotional hockey games since the regular season ended.
We've got a number of players who are involved in the scoring and being the playoff scoring leaders. Stevie Payne is fourth. He's got 20 points. We look at Bobby Smith, who's had a great series here against Calgary. He is seventh with 18 points. Guy Chenard of Calgary with 16. Dino Cicerelli, he's 15th with 15 points. Bobby McMillan, Al McAdam, Tim Young, and Paul Reinhardt are all tied for that 16th position with 14 points apiece.
Payne plays it out to center, stopped there by Popinski. Popinski dumping it back into the North Star end. Flett goes after it. He's hit by Barrett. Randy Holt taken out by Bobby Smith. And we got a penalty, I believe, being called against, who is it, Barrett?
No, against Willie Platt. It'll be Platt for roughing against Barrett. I don't think Willie has forgotten the last game here when Barrett really caught him with a check and really leveled him. He was a little slow getting up. He had high stick to Barrett. After that, with about 8 seconds to go, that's the game that Glenn Salmore was thrown out. And I'm sure he didn't forget it. And as a result, Calgary now has done their 7th penalty of the game for 17 minutes. They have Minnesota and Calgary both now have had 7 penalties for the same length of time. And that comes to 17-26, and that's a roughing penalty against Willie Platt. A goal here for Minnesota would do so much for them. Not too happy as he sits in that box.
Not a particularly smart penalty either.
No, it's not.
Play going back into the Minnesota end, and back to get it now. Behind the goal goes Kurt Giles. Giles starting out, Neil Broughton. Broughton, the University of Minnesota star, comes to center ice with it. He was spun around, gets across the line, trying to free Kristoff. Kristoff goes to the corner now for Minnesota. Back behind the net, off for Dino. Dino getting it off for Broughton. Popping it back for Gordy Roberts. Roberts couldn't keep it in, and the puck comes back to the Calgary line.
That's a young, inexperienced front line there, but what a series that line is having. They're playing like old veterans.
Roberts back into the Calgary zone, stopped there by Hislop. Back to center comes the puck, and Kurt Giles is there for Minnesota. 1:17 left in the extra man as Kristoff golfs it wide of the goal. Dino goes in after it, bothered over there by Marsh. Cicerelli keeping it in for the North Stars, playing it in deep. Russell now for Calgary finds an opening and sends it all the way down the ice. There's 1:04 left in the roughing call against Flett. 1:35 now remaining here, second period, as Bobby Smith takes the pass from Giles and comes to center. Bobby Smith, the North Stars' #1 draft choice of a couple of years ago, the Calder Cup winner in his rookie year. Hartsburg playing it to an open wing, and Marsh slamming it in. Malash making the save, and Hartsburg coming back to get it for Minnesota. 42 seconds left in the extra man. It goes to McAdam. That's a 2-line pass. So there are 40 seconds, Tom, left in the penalty to Willie Platt. 1:14 remaining here in the period. 2-1 Stars.
This game is tough enough to play when you're at even strength, but when you're a man short, it makes it that much more difficult. And it kind of drains those players who are called upon to kill those penalties all the time. There's a deputy sheriff there. One of the people in attendance here tonight to make sure we have crowd control.
Hartsburg in his own zone now for Minnesota. Getting it out to center ice, off for Payne. Payne going across the line, down the left wing, grabbed there by Russell as play goes to the corner. Al McAdam comes up with the puck for Minnesota, watched by Lever. 15 seconds to go in the extra man. Up along the boards, Hartsburg will keep it in. Back behind the net now, McAdam with Smith out in front. Dropping it back to Maxwell. Maxwell teeing it up. Maxwell lets it go. That deflects wide. Smith back behind the goal. Tried to play it out in front and does. Broken up by Marsh. Marsh backhands it to the crowd. The penalty time to Platt is over with. There are 33 seconds now remaining here in the period. The Stars lead 2-1. Al McAdam from Maxwell and Payne, a power play goal for Minnesota at 13:52 of the first period. Russell from Ronicalio and McMillan, a power play goal for Calgary here at 2:57 of the second. And Dino Cicerelli from Christoph and Roberts at 11:36 here in the second period. And that's where we stand now, 2-1 in favor of the Stars. There's McAdam, you can see behind the goal on the replay. Playing it back for Maxwell. Maxwell handles the bouncing puck. Lets the shot go. It deflects either by Payne or either by Smith, rather. McAdam out in front. And it went over the top of the cage. If we look at Pat Reagan. Kevin Maxwell out there centering Tommy McCarthy and Ken-Eric Anderson. Greg Smith and Fred Barrett are the defensive pairing for Minnesota. Bill Clement going against Kevin Maxwell on the draw. Maxwell out of the University of North Dakota and the Canadian Olympic team. Off the face-off now. Bill Clement coughs it up in his own zone. McCarthy keeping it in for the North Stars. The North Stars buzz the Calgary cage at the end of period number 1. Nilsson now in the corner, watched by McCarthy. 19 seconds remaining in the period. As Marsh steers it up for Clement, that's a two-line pass. It's offside. 14 seconds remain, period number 2. Tom Reed will be talking with Tim Young following the completion of the second period. Kevin Collins all set to do honors. The face-off coming at the left side of Pat Reagan. Shots on goal, 24 for Minnesota and 15 for the Calgary Flames. This is Game 6. Stars win tonight. They'll play on the island against the defending Stanley Cup champion New York Islanders in the Stanley Cup Finals. Game 1 Tuesday night, Game 2 Thursday. Game 3 would be back here in Minnesota on the 17th, which would be Sunday, and then Game 4 on Tuesday, May 19th. But we're getting ahead of ourselves right now as we look at Tom McCarthy. Right now, the Stars only need worry about the Calgary Flames. They lead 3-2, and they need this one. Reinhart starting out of the zone for Calgary, down the left side, ahead for Houston. Houston sends it between the defensemen. Malash comes out and puts the puck on the stick of Freddie Barrett. Now Barrett knocking it to the boards, and there goes the siren. That is the end of the second period of play. For the score, the Minnesota North Stars 2 and the Calgary Flames 1. Tonight's broadcast comes your way from the Met.